Yesterday I started explaining about a controversy that exists in the world between materialism and spiritualism, what we call bhautikvad and adhyatmavad. So I've been explaining to you that neither extreme is correct. The extreme of bhautikvad is to say that we don't need God, all we need is scientific progress and material pleasures. We have no need of God. And on the other side, you have those who say we need nothing from the world. They even go as far as to say the world is fake, it's useless. All we need is God. So far I explained to you from the bhautikvad side how that's illogical. Some bhautikvadis go as far as saying God doesn't exist. I won't believe that God exists because I have no proof that God exists. So I dispelled this fallacy by explaining to you that there are different ways to have basis to believe in something. Seeing with your own eyes is the preferred way, but it's not always possible initially. So I told you that initially you may take someone else's word for it. We call that shabda praman, praman meaning proof. And then you practice and you perform an experiment or you follow some procedure and you try to get the direct experience for yourself. Scientists do this all the time. They reproduce each other's experiments to see if what this scientist experienced, I can also experience. So we do the same with God. A saint says, I have seen God, so I know God exists. And instead of following the path to God, we say, no, I don't believe you. That doesn't make any more sense than a scientist telling another scientist, your experiment is wrong. I don't believe that you got the results you did, without actually doing the experiment himself. So we have to actually follow the path to God. Then we will get the results and see God for ourselves. Some bhautikvadis also argue that if God is all good, all kind, He Himself is the form of bliss and knowledge, then how could this world, which is the exact opposite of that, have come from God? So I explained this in quite some detail as well, that the world is the product of the material energy we call Maya. So this energy is eternally existing. It has its own innate good and bad qualities, which we see manifested as the good and bad of the world. And God merely activates this energy. God doesn't create it from nothing. Maya is already there. It's in a dormant form and God activates it, and after some time He dissolves it and it goes back to its dormant form. But this is an eternal cycle which never began. So God in fact doesn't create anything. He just manifests the universe as it was before in the previous Srishti. Srishti actually means to release. So God releases the universe. He doesn't create it from new. Thus, the qualities that we see in the world, the good and the bad, those are not attributable to God. They exist eternally as intrinsic characteristics or qualities of this material energy. And the third argument some bhautikvadis make is that if God is omnipresent, then why don't we experience Him? God is the form of bliss and He's everywhere. He permeates every particle of this universe. If you mix in sugar to some water and then you drink the water, you're going to experience the sweetness in that water. So when God is also permeating, just like the sugar permeates the water, saturates the water, God is saturating every particle of this universe. Why are we not experiencing Him? So I also explained that God is divine and our faculty for experiencing is all material. Our eyes, ears, nose, sense of touch, sense of taste, everything is material. So with these material senses, we can experience material things. We can't experience a divine thing. To experience a divine thing, you need divine senses. Very simple. So this is why we can't see God right now. We want to, right? We want proof that God exists. We say, show me. But we can't see God with material eyes, even though He's right here. So to get divine eyes, you have to follow a process, become surrendered to God. When you get His grace, through His grace, you get the divine senses, even you get a divine mind. And with that, you can experience God with all of your 5 senses, and you can know God with your divine mind. If someone decides to accept the existence of God, but denies the need for God in his life, then I explained, how will that person find happiness? This world has never given us truly satisfying happiness, and the saints and scriptures tell us that happiness is in God. So if one wants true happiness, he will not only have to accept the existence of God, but try to attain God. Otherwise, he will be relegated to experiencing the ups and downs of this world for uncountable more lifetimes, never truly finding that inner peace and happiness that he seeks. Perfect happiness forever. In addition to this, we don't find security, because if all of our happiness is dependent on what we get or don't get in the outer world, then we're bound to experience tremendous ups and downs emotionally, because this world has a nature to keep going up and down. Nothing stays the same. It can be freezing cold, it gets warmer, again it gets cold, it's dry, it gets wet. Nothing stays the same. The stock market goes up and down, real estate prices go up and down. So if we're fully dependent on getting our happiness from these external things, we can never have any stability or security, because true stability comes from in here when you make a direct connection with God and start experiencing devotional happiness, we can say. Divine happiness would be of an unlimited amount. We get a reflection of that divine happiness into our heart the more we become surrendered to God. In addition to this, since attaching our mind to God is the only way to purify it, the Bhautikvadi has no way of purifying his mind. He may learn to control the outer world using science and technology, but there is no technology available to control our inner world, and that's the one that really gives us the problems. So we may find science advancing to great lengths, but unless we purify our mind, we'll use that technology for wrong things, to harm ourselves and others. So while scientific advancement is not bad in and of itself, but it will be used for wrong things to the extent that people's minds are impure, and the only way to purify them is through bhakti, through devotion to God. So, the extreme view of Bhautikvad, that we don't need God at all we need is material progress, it's not a logical approach to living in this world. What about the other side? The Adhyatmavadi, who may say, I don't need anything from this world. All I need is Radhe Radhe. Okay then, fine. Sit here and do Radhe Radhe. Don't eat or drink anything. Don't sleep. Don't take any medicine. Keep doing Radhe Radhe. Unless you're truly that far from God realization, and you can just sit and keep remembering Radhe until she comes to you this very day, if it's going to take you any longer than a day, you're going to be in trouble. You'll be trying to think of Radha and Krishna, and your mind will go to that empty feeling in your stomach because you haven't eaten in so long. You'll start to lose your energy because you haven't eaten or drunk anything. You haven't slept. So you see, through this simple example, I've illustrated to you that it's impossible to do proper devotion to God without making use of this physical world. So even the one who says, I only want God, I don't want anything from this world, you still need something from this world. There's a difference between wanting something because you're hoping it's going to give you happiness and just needing it because your body needs it. We call it upayog or upabhog. Upayog means making use of that thing because you need it. Upabhog means, oh, if I enjoy this thing, I'll get happiness. If I enjoy more of this thing, I'll get more happiness. That's upabhog. Upayog, my body needs it. My body needs calories, vitamins, minerals, protein. So I have to make use of things in this world to give my body what it needs. Why? Sharir madhyam khalu dharma sadhanam tan binu bhajan veda nahi barana. Without this body, how can you worship God? This body is the means of attaining God. Although technically it's the mind that has to worship God. He's not watching our physical actions. Yet without a body, we can't live in this world and we can't do devotion to God. So we have to take care of our body. So you see, even someone who's fully devoted to finding God needs to make use of this world. That's why Shri Krishna says in the Gita, Natyashnatastu yogosti nachaikantamanashnatah nachati swapna shilasya jagrato naiva charjuna yuktahara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu yukta swapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkhaha. He tells Arjun, this spiritual path is not for the one who eats too little or who eats too much. It is not for the one who sleeps too little or who sleeps too much. Yuktahar. Yukta means in balance. You use your intelligence to understand what your body needs and use that kind of ahar. Eat just enough, just what your body needs. Give it what it needs to be healthy. Don't eat for happiness. Eat for health. This is what Shri Krishna is saying. Eat to live, don't live to eat. So food is here, it's provided for us. God has manifested this universe so that we can get a human birth, get the knowledge of devotion, the knowledge of the Vedas, get all the food we need, keep our body alive and healthy, and then do devotion to Him and try to find Him. But we have to make proper use of what He's given us here. It's a big confusion. People think, well, God has created this world or God has manifested this world and He put us in it with our mind and five senses. So why am I not supposed to enjoy this world? Why is it wrong to indulge in enjoying the world? Well, you can decide for yourself. How do we spoil our own health? Do we spoil our health when we're thinking, my body needs this thing, I should eat this, I should eat this much? No. We spoil our health when we think, this thing is bad for me, but it tastes really good. So I don't care if it's bad for me. Let me enjoy it. Why? Because there's happiness in this tasty food. Now we're not eating for the health of our body, we're eating for the enjoyment of the taste. There was a king who was so excited about tasting food, he used to eat and eat and eat and eat, and then he'd make himself throw up so that he could have more room in his belly to keep eating. It wasn't he didn't care about having his belly full or not. He wanted the taste on his tongue. So he just wanted to be able to keep eating. We may not be at that extreme, but we have some of that in us where we have that desire for tasty food, and that desire causes us to eat things we shouldn't or to eat more than we should, and then we suffer physically. So our own body tells us, nature tells us when we're doing the wrong thing, and all of us. In Kaliyug, how many people live a truly healthy life? All of us eat some amount of unhealthy food. We eat too much food. And then we pay the price. We get old before our time. We start having aches and pains and illnesses, even at a young age. This is because we follow this siddhant, that this world is here for me to enjoy. ठीक है, करो और भोगो. Parinam bhogo. We have to receive the consequences of our own foolishness. See, Krishna produces the Vedas and he gives us all of these guidelines, how you should live your life, how you should make use of the things in the world, and we make up our own philosophy and say, ठीक है, honge Bhagwan, fir bhi, I'm going to do what I want. Okay, so enjoy this world to the utmost and see what happens to your body. The mind wants to enjoy something, we understand that. But this whole philosophy you've been hearing in this series explains to you that it's not wrong to desire happiness and it's not wrong to desire enjoyment, but we have to be realistic. Are we finding the true happiness we desire in this world? The answer is no. Not perfect happiness. Well, that's in God. So we should seek it in God and make use of this world to keep our body healthy and happy. One time, Gautam Buddha was sitting and he was meditating without eating anything for many days. And he started to feel weak and dizzy. So of course, when you reach that state, it becomes more difficult to concentrate on your meditation. At that time, there were some women of a nearby village who went by, and they were singing a song, just a folk song, and the meaning of it was just like this Tanpura here. They were saying, you have to have the strings adjusted just right. You can't have it pulled too tight or else the string will snap. And if it's too loose, like the strings on this Tanpura, you play it and you don't get any sound. So it has to be just perfectly adjusted. In other words, you need discipline in your life, but don't starve yourself. Don't go sleepless. And on the other hand, don't be too dhila either. You need to have some control over your eating, sleeping, so that you have good health in this life, exercise, all of those things. The spiritual path is impossible to separate from our life in this world. And the reason is that everything affects you. Like your physical health affects your mind. And depending how your mind is feeling, you'll find it more easy to attach your mind to God, or you'll find it harder. If someone is being a bad person in the world, doing wrong actions, they're not making an effort to be a good person, but they're doing devotion to Radha and Krishna. Out in the world, they lie, they cheat, they cause others pain through their words, through their actions, and then come and do devotion to God. Is the devotion to God going to purify your heart? Yes, but think what you're doing. When you're doing those wrong actions, it disturbs your mind. And then with that disturbed mind, you'll come and try to do devotion to God. So it becomes an impediment for you. Even something like being lazy. Oh, I'm going to find God in this life, so what does it matter if I do my job properly? What does it matter if I study properly in school? This world has no happiness anyway, so why should I work? Why should I study? In other words, we're being sloppy, we're being careless in our worldly affairs. And with the same mind, we're going to try to do devotion to God? You can't do devotion to God with a sloppy, careless mind. So that mind has to be treated carefully. So we have to focus with whatever we're doing. Properly do our work in the world, and then properly do our devotion. The two are not mutually exclusive. You can't be one way in the world and another way in devotion. You only have one mind. So we have to keep a sattvic way of living in the world. Healthy life, good behavior in the world, keeps a sattvic frame of mind, or helps to encourage the sattvic quality of the mind. Of course, eat healthy food, exercise. It all helps develop the sattvic quality of the mind and the health of the body, which go hand in hand. And that gives us more ease in doing devotion, meditation, attaching our mind to God. Now, there are those who say this world doesn't exist at all. It's just your imagination. So we could ask those people, okay, if this world is just an imagined thing, so we really shouldn't need it at all then, if that's the case. If it's just an imagined thing, then when you feel hungry next time, why don't you just imagine a pizza in front of you and eat your imagined pizza? Say the world is imagined, right? So it means your hunger is imagined. So then just imagine some pizza and imagine eating it. You're thirsty, don't drink water. Just imagine a glass of water in front of you and drink that. See how long you'll live doing that. So that in itself proves that this world is not imaginary. If it was imaginary, this harmonium would not look the same to all of you. How is it possible for you all to imagine the existence of this harmonium without us having planned it ahead of time? Like, hey, let's everybody imagine a harmonium here. No, you're all automatically seeing this harmonium. So it means it's real. If it wasn't real, one of you might see an elephant here, one of you might see a banana, someone might see a harmonium. So the world is a real thing. Even for a God-realized saint, as long as that saint is living in this world, he has to eat and sleep and take medicine because he has a physical body. There have been great yogis who existed in this world who didn't need to eat anything. They transcended the need for food, and they just lived on breathing the air. But the air is also one of the material elements of this world. So he may not be making use of food, he's still making use of the air he's breathing. There are even some yogis who could control their breath to the point of ceasing their breathing, and they just sat in the earth in meditation. So the earth that they're sitting on is also part of this world, is it not? They still can't deny the existence of the world. There were even some yogis who could levitate and stay above the ground in meditation, not eating, drinking, breathing, nothing. So the space in which they're floating is also, it's called Akash, it's also one of the material elements. To what point could someone who has a physical body go in denying the existence of this world? You simply can't. As long as you have a physical body, you need something from this world. And you cannot deny the existence of this world. Then why have there been great saints? The most famous being Jagadguru Shankaracharya, who proclaimed that the world is fake, it's an illusion, it's mithya. There are a couple of reasons you can understand. The first, there are actually two worlds. There's the outer world and there's the inner world. The outer world is not fake. I just discussed that. Satyam bhutamayam jagat. Mahabharata says this world is satya. It's real. Satyad bhutani. Jatani sthavarani charani cha. Mahabharata. God is Satya, and this world comes from God, so this world is Satya. It's real. Mayam tu prakritim vidyan mayinam tu maheshwaram. Shvetashvatra Upanishad. Maya, the material energy that this world is made of, it's a power of God. So God is real and His power is real. Daivi hyesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya. Gita. Shri Krishna says this Maya is my power. So dasi raghubir ki samujhe mithya sopi chute naram kripa binu nath kahu padropi. Ramayana says the same thing. Maya is a servant of God, a power of God. So this world is the product of God's external energy called Maya. So it's real. It really exists. It's nobody's imagination. Even after someone attains God, this world continues to exist. The only difference for them is they realize the truth that God is omnipresent in this universe. Right now, we only see the material universe. We don't see divine God who permeates the universe. The God-realized saint sees both. He sees that there's a material universe here and divine God is permeating the universe. And instead of experiencing the pleasure and pain of the world, the saint experiences the unlimited bliss of God, even though he lives in this physical universe. So, the outer world is real. It's nobody's imagination. It's created by God Himself or manifested by God using His eternal power, Maya. The inner world, on the other hand, is our creation. The inner world means your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your desires, love, hate, anger, attachment, all of that goes on in here, that's our inner world. So you see, that's different. The outer world is a fact. The inner world is very unstable and changeable. In fact, it can change any moment. I'll give you an example that shows the relationship between the two. Let's say two friends who are both jewelers are walking down the road. And up ahead they see something shiny. And they know, even from a distance, because they're both jewelers, it's a diamond shining, fallen somewhere on the side of the road. So they both start racing towards it. The faster one of the two gets there first and scoops it up just ahead of the other one. And they both look and see, it's a blue diamond. Might be worth $1 million. So the one who scooped it up first, he's jumping for joy. And the other one, he's dejected. Oh, I almost had $1 million. I didn't get it. A third man comes along and sees the two of them. One is jumping for joy and the other one is totally depressed. And he asks, what's happening? So they tell him the story and he's mildly amused but goes on his way, kind of neutral about the whole thing. So you see, one diamond caused 3 different reactions. It made one person extremely happy, it made one person extremely sad, and one person felt nothing at all. The diamond is real. No one was imagining the existence of the diamond. It really exists, but their inner reaction is their own creation. Thus, that can be considered fake, because it can change from one minute to the next, and it's not a substantially existing thing. The diamond is a substantially existing thing. Your feelings towards it depend wholly upon your thinking. The one man had no attachment to it. He never had a chance to own it, so he didn't care who had it. If he had it, someone else had it, it meant nothing to him. So he felt no happiness or sadness due to the diamond. The other men had some hope from the diamond. So one was happy and one was disappointed. The same thing can be seen with people. One person means different things to different people. The person is real, but to one person they may be a loving mother, to another person they're a sister, to another person they're a daughter, to another person they're an enemy, who knows? So one person elicits different feelings in different people's hearts. One feels, oh, she's my mother. One feels she's my sister. Another feels this is my daughter. Another feels this is my enemy. Another person thinks this is my friend. So the person is the same, and everybody is seeing that person differently. So those feelings are our own creation. The person is nobody's creation. The person is a fact. So the outer world exists as a fact, and the inner world also exists, but it's our own creation. Now there's a relationship between the two. If you could somehow learn to control your inner world, the outer world could no longer cause you any suffering. This is the state achieved by saints. Once their mind becomes totally impregnated with divine bliss, then all the Mayic defilements are eliminated. Anger, hatred, jealousy, dishonesty, all the desires and attachments are finished. Only divine bliss and divine knowledge remains. So that saint continues to live in this world like we do, the very same world we live in. The very same world that makes us suffer and disappoints us and then gives us excitement and hope. The saint walks through this world without dealing with any of that. The saint is absorbed in divine bliss of an unlimited amount, 24 hours a day, and walks around in the very same world we walk around in, but isn't affected by a single thing that happens, good or bad, in this world. You see, the saint, you could say the saint destroyed the Mayic quality of his inner world. It became divine. So if we could gain control over our inner world, the outer world could no longer cause us any problems. Be what may. Let it come, whatever happens. Nothing can touch me. That's the security I was talking about. That's ultimate security when you have that divine bliss inside. Let's say the outer world, or the objects of the outer world that we're attached to, let's say those are removed or destroyed. Does that fix our inner problem? It doesn't. Let's say you're attached to someone and that person moves away or dies. Does that remove your longing to be with that person, or does it remove the pain that you feel in separation from that person? No. Even though the person is not in front of you, still you're dealing with your inner reaction to that person. However, in the presence of the outer objects, the inner world tends to flare up. For instance, let's say your child is demanding cookies, and the cookies are in the top shelf on the cupboard behind the closed door. He can't see them. So even though he's demanding, eventually he gives up. You're firm in your determination. No, I'm not giving you cookies today. You have to eat an apple if you're hungry. Have a healthy snack. So eventually the child gives up and has an apple. But if somehow that cupboard door got opened and he saw, there's the cookies right there, then there's no way he's going to give up. In other words, jab samne aa jata hai, then the inner world really jumps to life, flares up. Like someone you have an extreme dislike for. You haven't seen them in many, many days. It still bothers you a little bit. Every once in a while you think about them. That person said that to me. They embarrassed me, insulted me in front of everybody. So you still think about it sometimes. But if that person comes in front of you again, oh, then it flares up big time. So you see, there is some relationship between what's happening in our inner world and the outer world. However, what most people try to do in order to find peace and happiness, they think, let me try to control the outer world. Make this person change. Oh, if I only had this. Oh, if when I get a better situation at work. Oh, when I move into a bigger house. When I get a better job, then I'll be happy. We keep planning, right? When all of the things in the outer world are just so, then I'll be happy. Instead of looking, how could I get control over my inner world? What can I change in here to make myself happy in any situation? This is the spiritual approach. So the point of all of this is to understand that neither extreme view is correct. The Bhautikvadi saying we don't need God is incorrect, and the Adhyatmavadi saying we don't need the world is also incorrect. We do need the world, even if you understand correctly that the ultimate goal of your life is to attain God. That's correct. However, in order to attain this goal, you need to make use of this human birth to do that, and so you have to take care of your body. So we do need this world, but it's a means to an end. It's not an end in and of itself. This is why we have two forms of dharma described in Hinduism. One regulates our behavior in the world, and one is the path to God. Bhakti. So one is called aparadharma, like preliminary dharma, how to be a good person in the world. How should everybody behave so that they can live a healthy and harmonious life in the world? And the other one is paradharma, the supreme dharma, which means the path that takes you to God. Both these kinds of dharma are there because both are necessary. Even if you're pursuing the path to God, you still need to know how to live in this world. So, to continue gaining more knowledge so that we can become surrendered to God, we've cleared up a lot of problems and confusions about the nature of the world and the nature of God to help us increase our faith in God. Now we have to understand more about this world, because as I've explained to you, we are attached in the world. The reason for our attachment is our belief that there is happiness in this world. We've thought that thought, not millions or billions or trillions of times, but uncountable times. There is happiness in the world. There is happiness in the world, and I'm going to get it. I didn't get it today, I'll get it tomorrow. I remember, I think I was about 11 years old. I got this realization, must have been a good devotional sanskar from past life's spiritual learning. I came to this realization, what am I excited about? I realized all of a sudden, when I was 11 years old, I've spent my whole life in this state of excitement, waiting for something great to happen. Oh, what's going to happen next? What are we going to do next? Oh, then I kind of realized, okay, wait, I'm 11 years old. Nothing great has happened so far. So why do I keep thinking something amazing is about to happen? So this is the hope we live in. Like, oh, I didn't get it yet, but I'm about to get it. I'm about to get that thing that's going to make me perfectly happy forever. Like I was saying yesterday, what's the basis for our belief in this? We haven't found such perfect happiness in the world. No one we know has found such perfect happiness in the world. Yet we have a firm faith that I'm going to get this happiness from the world. This faith is it's due to our wrong understanding, and it can only be corrected through right understanding. And only to the extent we have right understanding can we bring our mind from its tangled up state, where it's tangled up in its worldly attachments, and loosen that so that it can start becoming attached to God. Now, I've explained to you that God is happiness. Fine. But the mind is still attached in this world, and frankly, mind says, wait a minute, I do get happiness from this world. Maybe I haven't gotten enough of it yet. That I will grant you. But I do get happiness in this world. So as long as the mind has this belief, it will just think, all I need is more. Eventually I'll get enough. So what we have to do is examine the nature of the happiness that we experience in this world. We all experience some pleasure from the world, but what is the nature of that pleasure? Is it true happiness? And what's the cause of that experience of happiness? If we understand that and compare it to what actual divine happiness is, then our mind will get some clarity and understand, oh, okay, so I really should desire this happiness instead of that happiness. So what is the happiness that we experience in this world? I'll explain to you in the next speech. Boliye Vrindavan Bihari Lal Ki